This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here with Robert Eden of Château Maris in the Minervois, down in the southwest of France. How are you today, sir?
Very well, thank you.
Now, how did a fine Englishman like yourself find yourself down in that part of France?
It's a good question. I think we end up in places sometimes without really knowing why we end up there. However, there is a reason, is that I know a lot of vineyards throughout the world, and I believe that down in that area of the world, due to its history, we can grow great grapes and make great wine.
Now, you chose to go down the biodynamic route, which is something I find fantastic and wonderful and intriguing, but also I have questions about it at the same time. And from your tasting that we just went through earlier, it all comes down to 2 piles of shit.
Well, not all of it, but yes, a very important part of it. The important part of making wine is to grow your grapes in a good way. And to grow your grapes in a good way, you need a quality soil for them to grow in. And we knew that actually meant by applying to our soil lots of compost. And in order to study this properly, we had separate piles of manure, which we tested as soon as they arrived from the same farmer. And then we infused one of them with biodynamic preparations, and we infused another one with just by leaving it organic, not infusing it at all. And we then took tests after the process had finished, and we found that the biodynamic compost contained a lot more nutrients per square centimetre. It contained a lot more nitrogen, it contained a lot more potassium. It was just generally a much better, greater fertilizer. And so that got us more interested in the biodynamic method of culture in general.
So that led you to actually exploring all of the different facets of biodynamic viticulture and agriculture, and so now you're 100% biodynamic.
That is correct. Château Maris, Minervois has been certified biodynamic since 2004, and we practice those methods throughout the vineyard.
What do you believe that the specific terroir of La Livinière brings to your wines?
Voluptuousness, seductiveness, velvetiness, silkiness, everything which is to do with a flavour which seems to flow on the palate.
Now you have Grenache Gris, you have Syrah, you have Carignan, you have Grenache. Which of those do you think are most suited to the soils and the climatic conditions that you have there?
I would say both the Grenache Noir and the Grenache Gris. Both of them seem to express a real particularity in the end product, but at the same time they also express on paper a very stable, adapted variety, i.e. with their levels of acidity and their levels of alcohol. They seem to be perfectly adapted to the area.
Now your Syrah is actually quite surprising. I was quite amazed at the finesse that you managed to find in Syrah down there in the Languedoc. Could you tell me the story behind that?
I think the Syrah it's a difficult variety. It's been cultivated for many centuries in very typical areas, very hot, arid areas in the world. Its origin, being in a very hot, arid area. To me, what we managed to retain in the Syrah is a freshness, which is very seductive. When you have something which is peppery and spicy, if it can also give you a freshness at the same time, it is very appealing. And also we spent a lot of time understanding the balance of allowing Syrah grapes to ripen in a perfect condition.
Carignan seems to be the red-headed stepchild of many a Languedoc appellation, but you take particular care with it. What do you find so appealing about the Carignan varietal?
I like the fact that it's indigenous to start with, and therefore also in working Carignan I actually find that it takes up a lot less time for us in the vineyards than the Syrah, for instance. So once again it's an adapted variety, and then I treat it nobly. And a lot of people have treated Carignan as rather, as you said, a red-headed stepchild, or an even worse child than that. And what I've tried to do is treat it as the first child. And I think that way we get the greatest expression from it.
La Livinière is something very special to me. I've always enjoyed the wines. Actually, I'll say I've enjoyed most of the wines I've tasted from there. How many growers are there, and how many producers are actually making wine from that appellation right now?
40 to 45 today in La Livinière appellation.
And how many of them do you think actually manage to tap the source there and actually show what that land is capable of?
Well, it's difficult to say that, because I would say all of them, but at the same time then a majority of them are actually delivering the grapes to the cooperative. So there are less individual producers which are actually producing their grapes and making their wine and bottling their wine. But everybody now, since the appellation was confirmed in 1998, really understands the value of the terroir which is there.
Now, you have made wine in both Burgundy and in the Minervois. Would you say that biodynamic viticulture is perhaps a little easier down in the Minervois than it is in Burgundy, simply because of disease pressure and the like?
There is certainly a case for saying that in drier climates we have a greater ability to produce grapes biodynamically than we do in more humid climates. And I would say Burgundy is not necessarily a humid climate, but
the moisture is there.
The moisture is there, and the dew in the morning is obviously greater in Burgundy than it is where we are in La Livinière. However, never forget they're producing great biodynamic wines in Burgundy as well.
Robert Eden, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution this afternoon. We thank Nicholas Pierce Wines for bringing you here, and we hope to catch up with you down near Carcassonne sometime soon.
Great pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.